The Guns on Pegs podcast is brought to you by ITAP Group. Hello and welcome to the Guns on Pegs podcast. I'm George Brown.
I'm Avian.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Sam.
Now, before we do What's That You're Drinking, do you guys want to give us an update on some of your activities? I'm thinking particularly of our Southwest contingent.
We've been busy.
You have been busy.
Yeah, we've been busy, haven't we? Well, I'll go first and say cider update. Royal Cornwall show, unfortunately, didn't manage to get there because it was rained and winded off on the Saturday.
It was, wasn't it?
It was horrendous. It was, lovely day Friday, lovely day Thursday, overnight Friday, absolute howling gales that came in out of nowhere. So unfortunately, they had to cancel the day for safety, which I was very disappointed about because, bugger me, we won silver.
Which is amazing.
Astounding. Now, full disclosure, when I took the bottles in for the competition, took them in to Tom at Hayward Farm to put to the judges and get going, he phoned me up and he said, Avian, I'd put them into the right bottles. I obviously hadn't read all the rules, but he said there was a bit left of one of them. So I mixed a bit of mine with it and put it quickly through the carbonator and entered that in. And that was the one that won silver. So all the ones I made and the ones we tried didn't place anywhere, but I'm claiming it. So the Guns on Pegs podcast team has won silver in the Drink What You Brung cider competition at the Royal Cornwall show. So I'm elated.
I think that's pretty amazing for your first attempt. And let's be honest, there was a certain amount of coercion involved. So to have
taken a year.
Yeah, and to have taken on the project, somewhat reluctantly, and to have had that as a result, I think is a huge achievement, possibly the podcast's greatest achievement to date.
We did need help, but yeah, and I must say thank you to everybody, to Kay and Jeff who supplied some apple juice, to you guys for bullying the hell out of me and making it happen, on the Garter group, to everybody who chivied us along, definitely to Tom and all the team at Hayward Farm Cider for pretty much stopping me poisoning people and really making it happen, and to everyone at Royal Cornwall Show who did the judging and drunk the foul stuff to get us the silver medal was fantastic. And I'm never doing it again. It was a bit too emotional.
Well, surely we have to push for gold now, don't we?
Well, I was going to say.
100%.
Glutton for punishment sort of strikes a chord here, doesn't it?
You love it. Stop playing up to it. You're doing it again. Stop it. Well done. I sent you a picture of my apple trees that I donated a bag full towards. They are looking like another mast year up here in Suffolk. So I will pick many more for you to add. So you never know, the Suffolk brand might help.
I don't know if you guys are enablers or just bullies, quite frankly, but yeah, go on, we'll give it another go next year. Why not? Let's see if we can get another silver or gold. That's
a commitment. Very well done.
Yeah. And to everybody going to the game fair, Gemma, bless her, from over on Shoot Hub, has set up, because Digby entered his cider as well, and he was on the bottom shelf with the rest of mine. So, typical Guns on Peg standard. Could do better, but we tried. But apparently on the Guns on Peg stand at the game fair, we've got some of his and some of mine. So if anyone's feeling bold, there's going to be a taste off and a drink off. So get there early.
Fantastic.
Pack your Imodium. Give it a go.
Very good news. And podcast representatives have been competing in another competition in your neck of the woods as well, I think. Sam, were you at that as well?
I did. I travelled down to Cornwall for that one, the Warrington Park Blazing Barrels for the GWCT, which was brilliant fun. We managed to field 2 teams of 4 and came a glorious 2nd and 3rd.
Out of how many?
Hundreds, George.
No, hundreds.
No, there were more than 6 teams, weren't there?
There were, yeah. I think it was 9. Was it 9 teams doing the
9 or 10 teams?
3 drive thing?
Blimey.
So
this is unusual levels of achievement.
Yes.
Yeah, from the Southwest contingent, you guys really have flown the flag. Yeah, I mean, epic work, chaps.
I also completed my 50k in May, and I have to thank everyone for their sponsorship.
Well done, mate.
So
mate, that's awesome.
Just shy of 900 quid. So
legend.
I mean, one thing, I don't know if you spotted it, Sam, but we had Guy Imrie from Grateful for the State Shoot was one of our guest guns. He had what I think is possibly the rarest piece of Guns on Pegs merch stroke memorabilia I've ever come across. Guns
the
on
old
Pegs
sunglasses.
Oh, I've got hundreds of those.
I was going to say.
Well, I think you ought to dish some of those out as fines, if nothing else, because they were wonderfully blue and 80s, weren't they?
Yeah.
Highly sought after.
They are must have. I do know people that have asked and tried to take mine from me, including my 10-year-old son, who says they look better on me, Daddy. So, yeah, there we go.
I did wonder if you could sort of end up with the Guns on Pegs full set. So you got your garters, your tie. I think Guy had the tie as well,
Underpants.
And the sunglasses, or whether you just have the sunglasses with a big nose and a woolly moustache hanging off the bottom.
What, an instant George costume?
An instant George Brown. What have you out of county southern softies been up to then?
I've been doing the sort of gardening that involves a digger.
Brilliant.
I've had tremendous
power
fun.
tools rock.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I've made an awful mess. It looks fantastic. No,
rewilding.
Sort of the opposite. But no, we've got this new garden that we're working on, and we took out a hedge a little while ago. So I hired a digger to remove all the stumps. And yes, that was a very worthwhile use of a weekend. I had a very nice time. I'm not sure Misha is completely thrilled with the finished result. But I keep saying, listen, it has to get worse before it gets better.
And what about partridges? Any partridge update?
Partridges are still going strong, still have a full contingent. Their bantam surrogate mum, has started laying eggs again, which is an indication that she needs to move on.
Yes.
So, yeah, they're doing great. And I can't fault it. They're very calm and seem quite used to me being around, which isn't great news. But yeah, they're looking really fit and strong and healthy.
That's wonderful stuff. And what's the plan? Are you going to bring some others in and try and breed next spring, or
exactly
are they going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to create pairs with these guys. Because as far as I understand it, they were all from different broods, so they should be unrelated to one another.
Yeah.
So you won't get any three-legged ones? No.
Although, never know. And yeah, then the idea is that I will pair them off. They're not quite sexable yet. So I will then, once they're fully feathered, I will have an idea about whether I need any supplementary adult birds to pair them with. And then I shall pair them up, breed from them, and that will then potentially give me a number of poults next summer that might be a number worth releasing. And then I'll keep doing, keep a few back for breeding purposes again, and just rinse and repeat until I have filled Hampshire with grey partridges.
Well, it's interesting, George, because Gemma and I did a podcast over on Shoot Hub, which has just gone out, and we were talking with Jody and David from Perdix Wildlife Solutions.
Yeah.
And it turned out that Dad and I, probably 15 odd years ago, tried to release some grey partridges back here with, to be brutally honest, absolutely no idea what we were doing. But it's probably worth having a chat with him, because a lot of the work they've done, leg ringing and being able to identify in the field is something he's really shit hot on. And if you're going to build that breeding colony to then start releasing, a big key to it is tracking where they are, even on, not a peppering scale, but even on a limited scale, just to start identifying year on year where the issues are. So have a listen to the Shoot Hub one. Really interesting stuff the two of them were talking about.
Yeah, interesting that, isn't it? Yeah.
Leg ringing is a really good idea. I'm going to look into that. Doesn't mean I have to catch the little blighters, though.
How long do you think it'll take to reintroduce into Hampshire successfully for the takeover? 20 years?
4 or 5 decades, maybe. Yeah, something like that.
Jake, what about you, mate? What have you been up to that isn't horsey?
Right, that isn't horsey, so we won't talk about Royal Ascot. I've also been harassing clays. I went to the inaugural Racing Clay Challenge in aid of the Injured Jockeys Fund down at the Ramsbury Estate, hosted by the just wonderful Katie from Wild and Glorious and the chaps from Barbary Shooting.
Yes.
It was a team flush. A team from Juddmonte went down for the day. Katie really does put on a great clay day. I've got a Downlands charity day coming up in a couple of weeks, so really looking forward to going to that. But Ramsbury Estate is beautiful.
Where is that, mate?
It's down in Wiltshire. And they not only have an estate, but it's like we've planned this, really, chaps, because they also have a brewery. And gentlemen, what's that Wolfie's drinking? It's a bottle of the Ramsbury Gold, which it was I don't think, in fact, I'm certain we haven't had it on the podcast before. They've got a wonderful shop there. After lunch, which was game as well, the lunch was amazing. Venison fillets. It was just lovely. All the whole day, all the food was brilliant. But wandered over to the shop. I was just like, what can we have? It was like an Aladdin's cave. Highly recommend it. But Ramsbury Gold, the rich golden coloured beer with a distinctly light and hoppy aroma and taste. Our gold is brewed using barley grown on the Ramsbury estate, which is a big tick to me, with water from the Kennet Valley, and is flavoured with the finest English Goldings hops. And there's a huge story to it. So I also bought 2 bottles of gin.
In for a penny, in for a pound, Jake.
Yeah, that's exactly it. In for a penny, in for a pound. But yeah, if you're thinking of ever getting involved in any kind of sim day but charity, I know, Sam, you've just done your running, and some of us aren't so keen on getting their trainers on. But
I know what you mean.
It is a lovely, lovely way to raise money, and the auction and the generosity of the Joker cards and what have you that happen on these flush days, raised over £35,000 for the Injured Jockeys Fund.
Wow.
And it's really, really cool. So great charity, incredibly supportive to jockeys, but the whole of the thoroughbred and stud industry. We were really pleased to support it. There were some very famous trainers and jockeys, retired and current, in there. Just a lovely day. So yeah, I did say I wasn't going to go horsey, but unfortunately have to. But anyway, I'm on to the what's that you're drinking. Ave, what's that you're drinking, buddy?
Well, I've been very lucky. An old mucker of mine from back in my distillery days had his own gin distillery. Very, very good gin they made up at Loch Ness. He then went on to a community distillery, the Glenwyvis distillery, which is a community-run distillery up in Scotland, up in the Highlands, and he has sent me one of their very special 1,500 limited release bottles of their, I'm going to try and pronounce this as best I can, and obviously if certain Hibernian members are listening, be gentle with me, I'm from the southwest, the Banyac, which I believe is Gaelic for the weaveress or the female weaver. So I'm going to give this a try. I've opened it in honour of the podcast. It looks good. I don't know the age. I think it's probably a 3-year-old. That's a good noise, George, isn't it?
Tremendous noise.
Lovely noise.
So we'll give that a go. And that one has been 73%. It's a single malt, but from the single distillery. So first fill Ruby Port Barrique and 27% refill Oloroso Sherry Hogshead.
Cool.
So they haven't held back in spending money on some pretty good quality casks there. Oh, toffee, almost Werther original. That's lovely.
Well, I'm buying some of that immediately. That sounds amazing.
I think, looking at their website, I mean, it's slightly young. It's got a little bit of that slightly acidic bite to it, but there's some really good flavour in there. By God, George, I think you'd like that.
Sounds like it's right up my street.
And I think that comes out later on in a month or two. But yeah, they've got a couple of other releases at the moment, but the Glenwivis, Bagnac, give it a go. Yes, very good.
Fantastic. Sam, how about you?
I'm on whiskey after whiskey chat in the last episode. Nothing as special as Avian's, but a good drinking whiskey, which is a Singleton 12-year-old.
Lovely stuff.
Can't go wrong with that, mate. George, what about you? What are you on?
Well, as you guys know, I am a creature of habit.
Fruit punch again?
Fruit punch again. Exactly. It's exactly the same as last time.
If you find something you like, mate, stick with it.
It is extremely good. It's been quite warm today, and it is just the ticket.
Perfect. I mean, we when we were on the Blazing Barrels, we had John had some homemade little concoctions there, didn't he, Sam? So we had a blackberry whiskey. Nice, yeah. Was it a slow vodka or damson vodka? No,
crab apple vodka.
The crab apple vodka was exceptional, and I was going to try and keep some to drink on the podcast, but they barely made it home from the shoot day. They were bloody good, weren't they?
They were good.
Right, gentlemen. Now that we all have a drink, it feels particularly apt that we all have a drink because it's movie night. The feedback on the book club was really good. I wasn't quite sure how it would go.
That's lovely.
But people seem to have really enjoyed it, and we've had a few other book suggestions in the Garters chat, and people that seem to have really enjoyed it. So I thought we'd do some more recommendations. So it's popcorn ready, draw the curtains. I think shooting doesn't like proper, driven shooting or and that sort of thing doesn't really feature on the silver screen that much unless it's kind of a shorthand for look at these poshos.
Yes.
And I think, shooting is so nuanced, isn't it? A lot of the time, the depiction of shooting is not completely accurate in terms of, does this actor look like they actually know which end of the gun is supposed to be pointing at the bird, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there are some films out there that could appeal to a tweedy audience, I think. So, we're all going to bring along a couple of recommendations. And I think a bit like the books, the shooting connection doesn't have to be direct. I think it's just the sort of film that would appeal to the sort of person who listens to the Guns on Pegs podcast.
Yes.
So, first of all, any film buffs amongst us?
Not really. I enjoy films, but definitely wouldn't say I'm a film buff.
I really enjoy films. So unlike you guys with the books on the last episode that we were together, I love a film, and I can don't get to watch many these days, but certainly through my teenage and my 20s and what have you, with the old DVDs, even VHS, lads. What about you, Sam?
I thought I really loved watching films until George said about doing films, and I've actually found it harder than doing books, which I thought would be completely the other way around.
I think you better go first then in that case, Sam.
Yeah, hopefully you boys have got some good recommendations. The first one that came to mind is asking if I'd call it a film because it's usually about an hour long, when Johnny Carter and Simon Reinhold do their what's coming up in the next Holt's auction on YouTube.
Isn't that worryingly close to gun porn, though?
Watching the auction is close to that. Is the gun porn. This is more fluffing. I always enjoy watching that, and there's other films on YouTube as well that I like. Avian's Year in the Woods obviously has to get a mention.
Thank you.
And I think from a film point of view, we got to support people who are maybe involved in what we do. So Guy Ritchie and Vinnie Jones spring to mind straight away.
Lock, Stock is a really great shout.
Brilliant film.
Cracking film.
I think even The Gentleman and the series is a fair shout, isn't it? It skirts to the edge of it, but it takes it seriously and doesn't make a scary issue of it, does it?
Yeah. I'd like to have seen more on. It's not a film; it was a series. But Vinnie Jones in the Country, who anyone who watches it who knows about shooting knows what Vinnie does on his estate.
Yeah,
and he kind of spends 2 series skirting around the edge of it without mentioning it quite.
Yeah,
I think that's a TV problem rather than a Vinnie Jones problem. I know we went up to, may have mentioned it before on here, but we went up to the Arundel Arms. They had an evening with, his name escapes me now, the fishing consultant for Gone Fishing, and he was saying that he spent a lot of time sorting out the locations and making sure they caught fish, but the production team had basically limited them to about 8 minutes of actual fishing per episode.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Production teams need to be pulled up, I think, because I like continuity errors and things like that in films.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys have seen Rivals? Have you seen the series Rivals?
Yeah, brilliant. I watched series 1.
The shoot scene in that is, gun etiquette is poor.
It's terrible, isn't it?
It's terrible.
But old Danny Dyer is absolutely living his best life in that scene, isn't he? He's loving it.
Now, we just need to be a little bit careful because I think we need to keep some powder dry here, because I thought we might do TV in another episode. So let's not go too deep into Rivals.
Going back to films, then, I don't know if any of you have seen Jimmy Carr's film debut, Fackham Hall.
I haven't yet because I'm far too mean to pay the rental price just yet. But yeah.
I would encourage you all to watch it just for the hunting scene, as they call it, which is, you can probably find the clip on the internet somewhere.
Oh, is that the one where the fox lands and then the deer and then the horse
and then and then a fox and then a stag falls from the sky and then he shoots his father-in-law and aims the gun and.
Oh, should we say spoiler alerts? I think isn't that a thing we have to do?
Yeah, we probably should have said that before I started talking.
I think people can just take it as read that there's going to be spoilers.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm going to make sure I watch The Shooting Party, which that was one of the books.
It was, yeah.
That was made into a film that we spoke about in the last one. So I am going to ensure I watch that. But I think the film that I've watched that is most relatable to a small country town / village has to be Hot Fuzz.
Great shout.
That's a hell of a shout, mate. It's well left done. Field, but yeah, definitely.
Because you can watch that and you can identify characters in your locality. I
think it's worth watching just for the gun cache scene, isn't it?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
The license for these ones.
Yeah, it does for this one.
Okay, I don't watch lots of movies, but that is partly because, as part of my degree, I actually did 2 film studies modules. So I'm going to get a little bit of film studies on you here. It's actually, Hot Fuzz is really interesting because the whole premise is based around a sort of city slicker copper being effectively rusticated to the countryside because so it's sort of going to the countryside is seen as a punishment.
Yes.
Which is a really interesting little bit of commentary. And then a lot of the gags are basically that country lot of weird, aren't they? Which again is a really interesting thing to look at just from how the countryside is seen from outside.
Yes.
So it still has that very urban perspective on it. But then obviously it being, I suppose it feels a bit weird to call it a feel-good movie, but it is. So, it ends up being about the friends we make along the way, doesn't it? And
you were teasing me about having Galois in my pocket.
But equally, then it just falls into the nuance of all of us are a little bit weird. All of us come in with our quirkiness, and when you accept it, the countryside actually is the more accepting of the 2 environments. So, when you realise that the country's all right, you start to relax.
I think you're right, and I think to George's point, I mean, yes, it's played for the comedy element, but it dealt with some very deep, dark social issues, but in a very light-hearted way, which I think if it was set in an urban environment, it would need to be a lot grittier and, dead prostitutes in dumpsters and drug deals and bent coppers and all the rest of it, where it kind of dealt with pretty horrific murders and underlying unrest and secret societies and what have you. And it played the country folk for laughs to a degree, but I think gave them quite a lot of credibility and, quite a lot of dignity in the end.
Thinking about it in that way, it's almost the opposite of Crocodile Dundee, where they take the man from the outback and introduce him to the city.
The anti-Dundee. Yeah.
Very good. That, Sam, is at the very least a 2-1. That is a great thesis.
I get a certificate at the bottom of my wall now.
You do.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, he goes to the countryside and he sort of ends up being happier as a result. And and I think that's a very telling message that's sort of buried deep within there and underneath all the gags. Very cool. Well, there's some really nice ideas in there, Sam. Jake, what about you? Film buff.
So I went to a screening the other day in Cambridge. This is an interesting one because directed and filmed by Sarah Roberts, who has released The Hunt, Into the Grey. Now, we will know this. We mentioned it at the end of the last episode, and a lot of us have seen this on our socials. It is about trophy hunting in South Africa. And now it kind of themes around hunting and conservation, rural Africa communities and their livelihoods. But, it goes on with wildlife management, and the ethics of hunting in the modern world and public perception versus reality. And that's really what I wanted to go and watch it for. There were some really good key discussion points within Sarah's film. But then equally it triggered some really good discussion points afterwards. And I know former guest Claire Sadler was on one of the panels at one of the other screenings, along with her brother who was on another. It gave some really good understanding rather than simply defend it or condemn it, type of thing. It highlighted how hunting revenue supports conservation projects, anti-poaching efforts, and the local employment, which is a big thing. It challenged the stereotype of hunters and purely trophy-driven, kind of that stereotypical, dare I say, white, overweight hunter.
The American dentist.
There we go. And it explores the tensions between the Western opinion and actually African conservation realities. And it demonstrated a connection between sustainable hunting and community income, which also I've seen firsthand. And so if I was to give a review of it as I sat there and enjoyed it, I thought Sarah did very well at showing the human side of hunting and conservation. She was particularly strong when giving a voice to local communities who live alongside the wildlife every day. And she spoke about the local community. It's not a tribe. I don't want to call them a tribe because they're not. But, there is a community which is affected in the area that she went to. And I think it's important viewing for anyone who's interested in countryside management, conservation and wildlife policy. I mean, I really felt for Sarah when she mentions afterwards how she's received criticism simply for making a film like this.
Yes.
And her words were, felt her career was on a upward trajectory. She's an incredibly good filmmaker, presenter, podcast host, and those things are really starting to, she says this herself, fall away because of taking this on. A few things I got frustrated with was that the film stopped short in tackling the most controversial aspect of the debate, which was that big five. And for me, questions were left unanswered with, really what motivates hunters to pursuing dangerous game, I guess how do hunters feel about species such as lions, buffaloes? How do we all feel about that Disney effect, dare we say? And can trophy hunting really be ethically justified if it's applied to the big five? And does banning trophy imports help or harm the conservation efforts? Now, I've spent time in Africa. I've lived there. I've worked there. I remember the first time I saw the bomas on a game reserve, and they were full of black rhino. And they were the males that were pulled out of the herds and being sold to private game reserves for hunting. But the value on those would influence and support local communities, schooling, transport, infrastructure, medical care. And I guess one thing Sarah speaks about is, who are we sat in our ivory towers in the West to condemn the conservation efforts and the hunting practices in a country we have no jurisdiction of?
Yeah.
I potentially think that, can a film about trophy hunting really explore the debate without examining the species at the centre of the controversy? And for me, I found Sarah shot a springbok. She could have done that in the UK and shot a roebuck.
Yeah.
She could have shot a fallow doe. She could have shot a munty or a Chinese water deer. She travelled a long way to talk about the community and the kind of perceptions. But what I found lacking was taking that even further, to go and shoot an ellie, to go and shoot a rhino, to pull the trigger on a lion. And that's where I wanted to get the psyche, because I'm not sure I personally can ever do that. Could I shoot a springbok? I look forward to it. Could I shoot a kudu? I think I can, lads, because of that point, that there is something full circle for me on that. But that's my hunting journey, and I guess I'm happy to pay for that.
Shooting a springbok over there is still helping their conservation efforts, though, isn't it?
100%, Sam. It definitely is, but I don't think it answered the question about it. For me, that's not a trophy. That's just a culled species, because there are enough of them to go around. It's food, it's what have you. But if you want to get into trophy hunting, then I perceive it to be a big five animal.
Well, yeah. I think, I haven't seen the film, but I've read a lot about it and looked at a lot of the reviews. And I think, we need, first of all, we need to move away from this concept of cull. It's being taken for reasons. A cull is something very different. Cull is when you've got, a problem species or a problem quantity of a species. I think it's very brave to tackle this in the current environment. And, I'm saddened that she's getting that kind of blowback and pushback. I think that the individual hunter's view on shooting an elephant is a very individual thing, but you have to kind of look at that in terms of, if a rich person, a rich American or a wealthy English person or whoever went over there with that concept in mind, that's what they wanted to do for whatever reason. In terms of how it sits in the landscape, that wildlife then has a value. And I think your point, I mean, it was perhaps rather unfortunate you used the phrase ivory towers, but I totally take the point.
I put that in there for the points. I put that in there exactly for that point.
We sit there and say that this shouldn't happen, but unfortunately, people are trying to make a living. And I think if you sort of overlay that on the way the public in the UK have migrated to where we are now harvesting deer, we've got to a point where there's not an eradication issue, so it isn't a cull, but we, even outside of the shooting life, people are warming to the idea that deer are becoming problematic in their numbers. They are very, very nice to eat. Ergo, if they are harvested in a responsible manner, that can benefit the environment. It puts a value on the deer themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it helps feed people. And I think if we can stop being so very Western and colonial about it and saying, well, you shouldn't do that. If we can understand that if there wasn't an industry to preserve sufficient stocks that we can take a surplus from, then they would probably just be eradicated because of the damage they do to the wildlife is doing to valuable farmland.
Yeah, 100%.
The danger it presents to local people, because, again, it's starting to creep into the deer argument, is that we cannot still have multiple pile-ups on the motorway because a red deer's run across. That's kind of the message that hopefully will come from it. But I think talking about shooting an elephant is still perhaps too big a biscuit to swallow right now.
Well, I think there's a danger, isn't there, of getting a bit too granular about all this, because the definition, for example, of trophy hunting, and trophy hunting is one of these phrases that has, I think, had its meaning changed over time, and now people talk about trophy hunting in the sense that the only purpose of the hunt was to obtain the trophy.
Yes.
Now, that's a very confusing situation, because I don't believe that anybody that I know would really place themselves in that category. And I'm also a bit uncertain as to what counts as a trophy, because, if you go and shoot a roebuck and you say tan the hide, or you keep the antlers and you make a thumbstick,
yes,
is that not a trophy?
Yes,
It sort of is, right? Or if you take a feather from a cockbird and bung it in a hat, those are trophies.
Yes. Or 100,000 years ago, you painted the buffalo hunt on the wall of a cave in central France.
As we have discussed many times before,
And to that point, is it then not, if you go abroad and, like George does, send us a picture of his knees on the beach, if he was to put that picture on the wall at home.
Fine knees they were as well.
Those weren't my knees.
Is
that not a trophy holiday?
We're not going to be able to get away from this debate, and we're certainly not going to do it in an hour. And I think Sarah did incredibly well to fit it into an hour of a movie, and I'm sure it is going to be available on YouTube at some point. You will be able to buy it at the moment.
I was going to say, do you know
I will find out exactly where it is, but I did go and have a look on YouTube to see if it's been released yet, and it hasn't. But her socials are incredibly good, and so you can get the real gist of it. What's frustrating is, like Claire, she was found to be a panelist by an anti-group, and they hounded her, and they sent her emails. They really gave her stick, and they tried to intimidate. And the first screening, which was in London for Sarah, Born Free turned up, and she interviews the head of Born Free on the film. It's a really interesting watch, and she's very quick to open and ask tricky questions. And it's interesting to watch how she moves away from their ideology and has an opinion of herself, and they're quick to shut her down. And unfortunately, they turned up at mass to the London screening and gave her a lot of stick. And so the following night, she was in Cambridge with us, and it was a completely different crowd. And you could feel this kind of awkwardness in the room, and then all of a sudden these incredible questions came from the audience. And there was a South African gentleman who'd hunted with his children, and I hope he listens to this, because he gave a fairly long question but it was passionate, and you heard it from a South African. And then there were other people in the audience who really gave partisan comments, and there was people from Basque there, and it was lovely. And she said afterwards in a Q&A, like, how nice, she was so worried about coming to Cambridge thinking it would be like London, and it was completely the flip. Now, I can't speak for what Claire and Jack, what their audiences are like, but you know what Claire's like, she can handle herself. But it really is it's a topic we'll never get to the bottom of. But I wanted to understand more about that extreme hunting, if we're going to take it away from trophy, George. And I came away still unclearer. Anyway, I've got another film, and it is South African related, because, hey, guess what? You don't have Kudu River without having a bit of South African around you. So it is the film which probably inspired me, gentlemen. It's called The Power of One. Now, you may have read the book, but the film, 1992, I was 14. And I remember this would be the film that really sparked my enthusiasm for South Africa. It's a story that follows the young PK during World War II, loses his mother, and he's growing up in what becomes apartheid. It was a film that at 14, I was kind of sheltered. I was at boarding school. I grew up in Wimbledon at that time. And, all of a sudden I was being exposed to a movie which spoke about racism, identity, but then friendship and justice. And it was really good. And you could tell because the director also directed Rocky and the Karate Kid, and he uses boxing as a metaphor for, kind of standing up to oppression. And that was really, really cool. And one of my most favorite scenes, and I still hum it now, is a song where PK, he brings everyone together with Pete, and who is played by Morgan Freeman, who in my opinion is just a wonderful, he's God, isn't he? And
literally he is God, yes.
And then unfortunately he comes to his demise at that point. But what they've managed to do through boxing is bring all the tribes together at that time, and all the blacks that are kept in that horrible kind of camp. And to entertain the governors for that evening, they're going to have a boxing match. And there's an incredible song there, and with music created by Hans Zimmer, it really stuck with me, and it made me start asking questions about African culture, about conservation in Africa, about wildlife. And it really sculpted a very young 14-year-old naive boy in me to go out and travel and to learn and to look at other things that weren't the Daily Mail in the day room of my boarding house. Mm-hmm. It was to go and ask questions, and why should things be like that? And whether or not it's, how do we improve yellowhammers in a hedge, or how do we improve grasslands in South Africa, or how do we treat each other? This film really started it for me. So like I said at the beginning, I am a bit of a film buff, and this was the start. And I hope that's coming through.
Yeah, it really is.
Because I really enjoyed this. And the best films don't tell you what to think, chaps. They make you curious, and curious enough to go out and find it for yourself. And this was my 14-year-old get out there, big fella. And I've made shitload of mistakes along the way. And my path is a tree now. But this is where it started. This was the route.
That's amazing. I have never heard of this film.
No,
I don't know how.
Stephen Dorff, young Stephen Dorff, even Daniel Craig plays one of his very first acting roles, movie roles. But as you can imagine, you put Morgan Freeman into a film, it's just epic. And the music, and they call PK the Rainmaker, and because he is that white English boy. And, I can remember, George, really struggling at school. And I don't actually know if I've said this before, but I was bullied bloody bad. And there's a scene in there where PK gets taken to this school, and the German children in the dormitory, they take him and beat him up, and they pee all over him, and that's where he gets a Pizzcop nickname from. And while I never got peed on, I certainly got bullied really badly, and I related to PK quite a lot, and that frustration as a young man coming into the world. And so I highly recommend getting the book, having a watch of the film. It's epic.
Wow.
Very powerful stuff, mate.
Yeah.
There you go. I've shared. Ave, come on, buddy. Let's hear yours.
I feel kind of, I don't know where to go. No, that was brilliant, Jake. Thanks for sharing that, mate. Yeah. That's very powerful words. So, I don't know. I guess we touched on it. George mentioned it in the intro to film night. I think a lot of the problem is that the sort of people from various upbringings who end up making films. I guess when we did books last time, books are a different dynamic, aren't they? You can have something you're passionate about, and the production of it is very personal. The publishing is becoming different now. But there are an awful lot of books on all aspects of the country life and hunting globally and what have you. Whereas I think some of the issue is with films, the sheer cost an investment in making them means that they're almost committee-led.
Yes.
And they have to be very careful about, are they going to upset a certain area? And you know, that's really why I think, you know, talking about Sarah's film, it's very brave to take that step over the Rubicon and put something a little uncomfortable out there. And, you know, just to take, I wrote down 3 films here that really shows how the filmmaking industry just turns the hunter from the outset, before they've even said a word, is automatically the villain. I mean, I tried to get them as disparate as I possibly could. So I picked Bambi, where the hunter is kind of the hard villain who I don't actually think speaks a line in the film.
Yeah.
You've got Hard Target with the legend that is Jean-Claude Van Damme, where a hunter kills his family and he gets justice. I think the strapline for that is never hunt anything you can't kill, which is ridiculous. And I don't know if anyone came across, there was a hip-hop influence film released a few years ago called Get Duked, where a group of inner-city kids end up in the Highlands and they get hunted by an evil gamekeeper and the landowner. So straight away, as soon as movies put somebody with a hunting outfit and rifle in, you're almost encouraged to see them as the bad guy, as the villain. Yeah. They're going to be terrible. So trying to pick a hunting movie or a hunt positive movie was quite difficult. So I went for, my first one is Watership Down. Good choice. It's the original BBC animated version.
Yeah, absolutely terrifying.
I haven't seen it, but isn't that a rabbit version of Bambi?
No, it's almost a rabbit version of the rise and fall of the Roman Empire.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you swallow the fact that it's all about talking rabbits with police forces and politics and what have you, it's kind of, through its core, it's emotionless. It just shows nature as unsentimental.
Yes.
You know, it's bloody in tooth and claw. It shows wild animals. Now, the fact that a rabbit talks to a seagull that's, I think, Germanic and swears at them and they help, and, you know, if you take that away from it...
Seagull would, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it just shows that nature doesn't give a shit. You know, wild animals live in fear, under pressure, and it shows how habitat loss affects things, how survival works, and it's kind of a truth. You know, that's how it is. It isn't like Bambi. It isn't.
There's no moralism.
Exactly. Lion doesn't sleep with a lamb. You know, it's what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that original BBC, I think, is it 1980s?
It might even be earlier.
Might even be earlier. So, you know, it's paper and ink animation. Compared to a film today, I still think it has the power of the original story. Second one I wanted to go for was a film that I don't know if many people have come across. It's called The Hunter.
Now, is this the one that's about the Tasmanian...
that's the one.
I was going to say Tasmanian Devil. Is that right?
No, Tasmanian Tiger.
That's right, because the Tasmanian Devil is a cartoon.
Yes.
He featured with Daffy Duck and Elmer Fudd, Elmer Fudd was another hunter.
Another evil hunter, yeah.
So the Hunter, it's a wonderful film. It's set in Tasmania, and the basic principle is that there's an evil conglomerate who hires a troubled retired mercenary to go and kill and bring back the samples of the last surviving Tasmanian tiger. Because although they went extinct in the 30s, there's an awful lot of rumour and stories that these things, and having been to Tasmania, I can well believe that dinosaurs could live there and nobody would ever see them. The place is vast. It's so difficult to get into the backcountry there. It's all high mountains and high lakes and dense brush. So this could happen. But I think what it deals with brilliantly is just the isolation of extreme rural living. It deals with the patience of the hunter. It's a very, very slow film, which is why I don't think it received the kind of coverage it deserved and the exposure it deserved. But it just uses hunting as kind of the backdrop to the lived experience of most people, and it really explores humanity's relationship with nature and how we have a tendency to huddle in our little communities. And I guess Tasmania is one of those westernized but still remarkably wild places.
Yeah.
But it doesn't try and have the dramification of some of the American, we go hunting bears like The Revenant and things like that. Great films, but it's very calm, it's very quiet, and I think you can lose yourself in it. Not at all. And there's a lot of interplay between the characters and the landscape. So it's one of those I'd go and look it out. I think it's on Amazon, Apple TV, Google Play, places like that. Definitely worth looking. And my very last one, and I've done this for very personal reasons. First, it looks beautiful. Is A River Runs Through It.
Aha. Yes, I wondered if this would crop up.
Now, I love this film. It's visually stunning. The story weaves itself through. It's very lyrical. It's a family drama, early 20th century Montana. It's looking at how family relationships are facing a modern age and what have you. But for me, whilst I know I will never, ever, ever even fit in Brad Pitt's shoes, I just hope one day, just once, I can turn a fly over as well as he does in that bit in the river. But it's a beautiful film, and I just think it kind of uses wildlife as its central theme and the wild places. But I think also, to me, when I first watched it, it really showed how that sort of inherited knowledge and how, passing skills and a love for wild places from father to son to grandson has been going on since the dawn of time. And it's one of those key themes in kind of everything we do that must be preserved. That's the core to the love of the land, because the land goes on forever and our time here is fleeting. And I think to be able to pass that passion and that love to the next generation and to instill it in them to such a degree that they pass it on to their children, it's really what we all need to focus on. Sorry, that was a bit mushy, but I loved it.
No, fair play. I mean, it's so nice to be able to that generational thing. It's almost where hunting is, isn't it? It's that pride of being able to teach the next generation, or when it's skipped a generation. We hear so many stories through Guns on Pegs or the podcast or meeting people where they say, well, my dad never took me, but my granddad did. Yes. I got to spend time with my granddad, or, I reconnected with my dad when I was 40. That type of thing. It's so important, generational stuff there, Ave. No, it's a lovely film as well. I think we all enjoy that type of film. Really cool. So, Watership Down. When I first started getting into kind of hunting, and my first ever summer job was working at a falconry centre down in West Sussex.
Oh, yeah. And
we would go out, myself and the owner's son, and just go and bash a couple of bunnies and what have you. And Mum, she's never really been big into, she's always been pro the countryside, but we don't talk about when we go hunting. We tell her everything about the day, and even Toby rings her up, but we're like, Tobes, don't tell her about your first game bird you shot. Granny Franny doesn't like it. But equally, tell her about the whole fun you had the whole day. But Mum said to me there, Jakey, when you go out, are you really going to pull the trigger? I said, I don't know. I'm sure I will. And she said, well, just think of Bright Eyes and hear the song from Watership Down, Bright Eyes. Da, 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 da. Even now, when I stalked my stag in Scotland, or when I shot a squirrel the other day, or whenever I get behind a rifle, I hear my mum's voice telling me to sing Bright Eyes to me.
That's your trigger song, is it?
It's my trigger song. I love it.
Most people do a long breath out, empty their lungs, and you're there going, humming.
But I think I mean, you laugh, Jake, but I think that's the mindfulness of pulling the trigger, isn't it? If you
100%.
shoot willy-nilly, then really. But if you know what you're doing, if you're mindful of it, and you're making a conscious decision, then do your thing.
Yeah, it's generational stuff. So
come on, George, film school buff.
Well,
media tart. Tell us.
I think I am going to disappoint you because I can't not choose Gosford Park, can I? Having spoken about it last time, I just thought I'd go into a bit more detail. So it is such a great movie. It's a 1930s period piece. It's written by Julian Fellows, who also wrote Downton Abbey, and it's got a lot of that similar kind of upstairs, downstairs, the lords and ladies and the staff kind of dynamics going on with all the relationships between the different people, basically forming the entirety of the story, really. But it is also a whodunit, which is great. The whole thing takes place over a shooting weekend. So the story is basically a murder takes place on a shooting weekend. The script is very funny, but also there's some quite dark storylines in there as well, and so on. But the thing that really makes it is the cast. This isn't even a complete list, by the way, but Michael Gambon, Richard E. Grant, Helen Mirren, Clive Owen, Maggie Smith, Kristen Scott Thomas, Derek Jacobi, Charles Dance, Stephen Fry. I mean, it's unbelievable that all those people...
They could read the back of an instant soup packet and make it wonderful.
Yeah, definitely.
Just having all of those people in the same movie is quite remarkable. There is shooting in the movie. And one of the reasons I thought I probably ought to include it is because I was sort of just doing a little bit of reading about the film. And apparently, real pheasants were shot in the making of this movie. Animals were harmed in the making of the movie. And the shooting scenes are pretty good. I mean, some of the cuts, a bit like you were saying earlier, Sam, some of the cuts are a bit suspect, and you think, I don't think that's the pheasant he was shooting at. But broadly, it's quite well handled, and it kind of gives quite a nice picture of what a 30s shooting party would be, with them trundling out in the shooting break with the lunch, and them having their lunch out in the field in a tent and all this sort of stuff. So it's quite nice from that perspective. The other great thing about it is you can watch it on the iPlayer for free right now. It seems to be there. So that's another tick in its box, so to speak. I mean, it is a really great movie. It's one that I used to watch sort of on a hangover Sunday quite regularly. Because, and again, when you've watched the same film several times, you can nod off halfway through and it doesn't matter because you wake up and work out where you are in the story. But yeah, it's a fantastic film. So there's that. And then again, I feel a little bit awkward doing this actually because it's a bit self-serving, but I'm going to recommend a film that I worked on many years ago. I worked for a company called Fishing TV, and we made a film called Chalk, the Bedrock of Fly Fishing. It's a feature-length documentary. We crowdfunded it. It's nearly 10 years ago now that it came out.
God, crowdfunding 10 years ago, that's cutting-edge stuff, wasn't it?
Oh, it was, yeah. We felt very, very, very with it.
By post.
Yeah, exactly. We had a proper premiere at is it the Prince of Wales Cinema in Leicester Square? Or the Prince Charles, one or the other. It's just off Leicester Square. And it's, as I said, it's a documentary about the chalk streams of England and, their ecological uniqueness and how that played into the way that fly fishing has developed or developed over time, in sort of the impact on fly fishing culture. The gospel according to Halford and the dry fly purists and all that sort of stuff. Another good reason to go and watch it is that former podcast guest Pete McLeod was on there as one of our talking heads. It's got Jim Murray, who people might have seen some of his podcast clips. He has an Atlantic salmon podcast, and he's a big campaigner for protecting salmon, but he's probably better known to everybody else as having played Andrew Mountbatten Windsor in The Crown.
Is that the paedophile formerly known as Prince? Are we allowed
exactly?
to say that?
Yeah, precisely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. Well done, George. Allegedly. Let's get that in.
But so he very kindly narrated the film, and it was a really making the thing was a really formative experience for me, and I think it really holds up well, given that we did it on such a shoestring. And if you're interested, I don't think you have to be a fisherman to enjoy it. It would probably help. But if you're interested in understanding sort of a bit more about some of the nuances of fly fishing, then it's a really interesting watch.
I think it's probably a really apposite time to give that, blow the chalk dust of it and give it another airing, especially with, the parlour state of chalk streams under the current Water Authority and EA, neglect and abuse, for want of a better phrase. It's probably a damn good time to watch that and see what it was 10 years ago and use it as a snapshot for what the hell they've let it come down to now. Absolutely,
yeah. And I mean, even then, people were talking about how important it is to protect them and how some of them are struggling. And it's sad to see that if anything, things have got worse. But it's also, it isn't a doom and gloom film. I think that was one of the things that we really set out. It was a celebration more than a because a lot of there's a lot of films get made, for example, about Atlantic salmon, and they are universally miserable, and they very rarely have that kind of pure joy of fishing.
I think a lot of them have sort of followed that modus operandi of. Do you ever remember that film, The Cove, where they were looking at the dolphin slaughter?
Oh yes,
a bit like Blackfish and
that's it. Yeah,
was it Cowmageddon or Farmageddon or whatever it's called? There's a lot of that kind of
the campaigning film.
Yes. The show the worst bits with absolutely no positivity.
Yeah,
just to raise funds for something else.
Yeah, and that's not what we were doing. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about it is that there are fly fishermen in Australia or New Zealand or the States who would describe themselves as dry fly purists, but they probably don't know why that's even a thing. And it depends. You can go down the layers of it. So dry fly purists exist because this bloke Halford said that you should only cast to a rising fish that you can see. Now, if in most other rivers the water just isn't clear enough for you to see the fish, the water is clear and it's clean because it's been up through the chalk, and the chalk itself is an incredible thing. And so like the kind of the layer upon layer of influence is a really interesting thing. And the wider impact is kind of mad when you think about, these ancient seas have resulted in people like me standing on riverbanks throwing bundles of fluff at fish.
I mean, I've always thought I love fly fishing. I'm very bad at it. I thoroughly enjoy it. But all of the purest parts of fly fishing do seem to be specifically designed to make it an awful lot harder than it should be.
Well, I think this is a thing that is almost unique to the British psyche. Because we've invented...
That's fun, let's make it really tricky.
Exactly. All of the things that we invent are generally unnecessarily complicated. So we have decided, amongst all others, that shooting a bird when it's really far away is the best thing. It's a good thing. We've made fishing pointlessly complex and difficult. We invented cricket. We invented golf. All of these things which seem designed entirely to make you want to throw things. And I think there's a bit of an exploration of that in the film as well.
So what was your role in this film?
Well, I worked quite a lot on the script. I was on quite a lot of the shoots. And I did a lot of the promotion of the Kickstarter. I organised. We were a very small company. We had 2 cameramen, an MD, and me. So anything that wasn't pointing a camera at things or signing checks, I did.
So you were best boy and key grip all at the same time, were you?
Pretty much, yeah. But it was an absolutely joyous process.
Yes,
hugely fun.
That's awesome.
So yeah, there we go. Those are my choices.
Fair play.
Where can we watch that one if we want to see it, George?
So that
Fishing
is
TV.
still on Fishing TV, which is a pay-per-view. And I think I'm right in saying that Fishing TV has an app that you can get on your smart TV, so you can watch it in, on the small screen as opposed to just on your phone or whatever. And yeah, I highly recommend it. But then, of course, I would.
Yes.
Right. I'm conscious that we are running very short of time. So very quickly, without any elaboration, has anybody got any honourable mentions or things that we ought to mention that haven't already been mentioned?
I'll go first with one because you did tease me about this, George, when I was mentioning it. Was the 1980s The Gamekeeper by Ken Loach. Which is
gritty realism.
As you told me straight away, very, very film school.
Yes,
but
I think in my degree, if you didn't mention Ken Loach in your essay, you got an automatic third.
But again, going back to what you were saying about Gosford Park, I was doing a bit of reading on that. It's a great film. It does look like a modern day documentary where they follow somebody around, sort of vox pop real life thing, but it was all acted, it was all scripted. But apparently that one, the pheasant were shot, and famously there's the bit where they're digging for the fox, and the fox bolts, and they shot the fox, and it was actually a shot fox. The actor shot so I don't know how they did it, but anyway, it's of its time, but it does show that sort of interesting interplay between the keeping staff and their
employers,
estate owner and the law. Yeah. Good film.
Good.
There's The Last Keeper, which was Tom's opera,
yes.
which I'm suggesting I haven't watched it, so people should go and watch it, as will I.
Yes.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, well, I've got a list of films to go and watch now, which is really nice. Right, I think we better wrap it up there, chaps. Otherwise, we're in danger of doing a 2-hour podcast.
Which nobody wants.
So I think the only thing we do have to just very quickly say is a few days after this goes out, we will be shooting clays at Stockton.
Yes.
On the podcast Sim Day. So that's very exciting. So I reckon that's probably the official start of the shoot season.
Definitely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Poor Sam's seen enough clays to last a lifetime already. It's been a great episode, gentlemen. I've thoroughly enjoyed this one.
Excellent. Right. Thank you very much, chaps. Some great suggestions. Before we go, all that remains for me to say is there's a final reminder that you can get your hands on a pair of the very exclusive Guns on Pegs podcast shooting sock garters by sending us your shooting dilemmas for us to resolve, sending us your unpopular opinions or your forgotten drives or your podcast suggestions, or in fact, just letting us know if you think there's any books or films that we should have mentioned that we didn't. Might not give you garters for that, but do send them in anyway, because I think we'd like to see them. Drop us an email to pod@gunsonpegs.com, and if we read your message out in the next episode or any future episodes, we will send you some garters. Chris and I will be back in a couple of weeks' time. Our next guest we are recording with in a couple of days' time, actually on the day this episode comes out. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but it will be really interesting conversation. But until then, thanks very much for listening, and goodbye.
Wow.